We have an opportunity to speak to a government minister. We are in election time, after all. We're going over to the Minister of State for Indo-Pacific, Anne-Marie Trevelyan, joins us now. Good morning, Anne-Marie. It's Michael Portillo here talking to you. Has the military now come out in support of the government's plan for national service? For example, is the Chief of the Defence Staff going to say that he is in favour of this?
So I wouldn't dream of speaking on behalf of the Chief of the Defence Staff, and I'm sure he will want to keep out of the political discussions through the course of the election. This is a policy that the Prime Minister set out over the weekend, which is exactly as Chris was articulating, part of our commitment to helping our young people to discover their best selves, to be able to, a number of them, apply and get a year's commission with our armed forces. But of course, the vast majority will be committing to a regular drumbeat of community work with their local, special constables, NHS, RNLI, any number of those public organisations, where the opportunity to discover who you are, to test your own resilience, to be part of something bigger than yourself is such an important part of how we make sure, exactly as Chris articulated so well, that actually the UK, this amazing country that we're all part of, has its values, has its freedoms, because we all work and continue to protect them.
Is the National Health Service, are the police forces, are the charities all signed up and ready to put this into action?
So as the Prime Minister set out, we will, if we were fortunate enough to be re-elected, set a pilot running in 2025, but there would be a Royal Commission because bringing in a new law, a National Service Act, obviously will have a complexity to it, which will require all those issues being looked at fully to make sure that all those participants who want to welcome these young people and give them the opportunity to discover the best of themselves will have the chance to do so. So that's what the Royal Commission is for, and the policy aim is for this to be fully in action by 2029.
But in summary, neither the military, nor the National Health Service, nor the police forces, nor the charities are on board with this scheme. Is that right?
So at the moment, the policy has been set out as part of a manifesto commitment, and we are hearing already from so many how those opportunities are ones that we know our young people will be keen to take up. And over the course of the Royal Commission, the practicalities, exactly as you point out, of how this would work, how the $2.5 billion that the Prime Minister has committed to the funding would help support our young people to be able to be part of this really exciting programme.
Anne-Marie, it's Nana here. Why do you think, then, there's so much objection to it? I don't get it. I was talking to Chris about it. I don't understand why all these papers are saying, The Guardian says his plan is bonkers and things like that. To me, it makes no sense, I'm sure. Why do you think that they are saying these things?
So, honestly, I don't know. I'm really supportive of the Prime Minister's very, first manifesto commitment. I'm the Minister for the Indo-Pacific when I'm not being now a candidate up here in Northumberland. The rest of the world is in a really difficult place. We have got to make sure that we have young people who are strong and resilient, who understand why it is that we are such an amazing country. And that is in large part because we have incredible freedom of speech, of liberty, all of those things. The rest of the world is in a really rough place at the moment. And we've got to make sure, and that's the work that we do through NATO, the incredible leadership that the UK shows, why it is that we believe these things are important to stand up for. So I'm very surprised by anyone who thinks that those values, defending those values, ensuring our young people are resilient as individuals and as part of a community is something that they would think isn't a good thing. I find that very disappointing on their part, actually.
Anne-Marie, do you think a number of your candidates in this election, who of course have not been consulted about this, it's been foisted upon them, do you think they'll be surprised that the Conservatives are proposing a large increase in public spending and a substantial increase in the size of the state?
So the Prime Minister set out in terms of the funding for this, by the time it would be up and running, as I say, after Royal Commission had worked out the logistics and the details, $2.5 billion, and he's already been very clear that he would extend the UK Prosperity Fund, which is due to end next year, with £1.5 billion and look to use $1 billion of the roughly $6 billion that we managed to get back on tax fraud evasion issues each year. So that would be where the £2.5 billion would come from. But as I say, in the first instance next year, his plan is to have a pilot scheme to start getting this up and running.
Even if it comes from somewhere, it's an increase in public spending. I mean, you're giving up an opportunity to cut taxes, aren't you?
Well, as he said, it's an opportunity in part to use money that is reclaimed through attempts at tax fraud or evasion and putting that to good use. That money has choices in how one chooses to spend it. And the Prime Minister's committed that is one thing he wants to do because this is so important. The next generation, our young people coming through, we want them to have opportunities, the chances to develop those community and personal resilience skills. And this is a really exciting way to do it.
Many Conservatives thought you were going to cut taxes, and they thought that because you told them that's what you were going to do. But actually, your first gambit in this election is to raise public spending yet again.
So our first gambit in this election is to set out very clearly the Prime Minister's absolutely central commitment, which is to our young people, to the next generation, to the security and resilience of their future in this country. And as I say, as a minister who spends her time around the world seeing where terrible instability and anxiety is developing, I absolutely support that we want our young people, a small proportion of them, to have the opportunity to do a year's commission, as I say, in the armed forces, but for the vast majority, the opportunity to get involved in local community activities and help build the communities that they are part of and will be part of, as Chris said, for the rest of their lives too.
And finally, Anne-Marie, were you also wrong-footed by the calling of the general election for July the 4th?
So I wouldn't say I was wrong-footed. I think you never know. Michael will know this as well as anyone. The Prime Minister has the sole authority in order to make that pitch, and they do it at a point that they feel is the right one to call it. So we are all ready. I mean, I've been, preparing the ground for when the election will come. It was going to be sometime this year. So my team, hit the ground running when that bell was rung. I think it's a great time. Personally, as a Northumbrian candidate, where in December 2019, I basically had soaking wet feet and coats for 3 weeks. It's going to be lovely to have a chance to be out and about, enjoying chats in people's gardens and hopefully some sunshine.
Anne-Marie Trevelyan for the Conservatives, thank you very much for being on GB News on a bank holiday Monday, quite early in the morning.